It's morning in Gaza and Israel. Here's where things stand. Israel's military says it is preparing for the next stages of the war against Hamas, with troops gearing up for strikes from the air, sea, and land, and significant ground operations. Signs have been growing throughout the week Israel could launch an invasion of Gaza, the densely populated enclave run by Hamas, the Palestinian militant group that carried out devastating terror attacks in Israel on October 7th. Meanwhile, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza is deepening, as evacuating residents face a dangerous trek when they try to flee the violence. Here are some of the latest developments. The Israeli military's announcement. Israel, which has massed troops and military equipment at the border with Gaza, says its ramped-up offensive will feature hundreds of thousands of drafted reservists and encompass a wide range of operational offensive plans. In addition to widespread airstrikes, Israel's army is preparing troops for an expanded arena of combat, the military statement said. The preparations have placed an emphasis on significant ground operations. IDF spokesperson Lieutenant Colonel Jonathan Conricus told CNN, Israel would commence significant military operations only once we see that civilians have left the area. What would a ground invasion look like? Israel's tactics have always been to move quickly and control as much territory as possible, but avoid street-to-street, house-to-house fighting where a weaker opponent can take full advantage of the terrain, CNN's Ben Wedeman writes. Entering urban areas in Gaza, however, would bring a new element to the fight. Hamas has shown a level of military capability far beyond what was previously thought and is probably well prepared for the next phase of the war, Wedeman's analysis notes. Israeli forces will also have to be mindful dozens of Hamas hostages. Both soldiers and civilians, including women and children, are being held in the crowded enclave. Although no one outside Hamas knows where they're being held, it's likely they're in the most difficult areas for Israeli forces to access, possibly in refugee camps, Wedeman writes. The crisis unfolding in Gaza. Tens of thousands of Palestinians have been fleeing south through the battered streets of Gaza after the Israeli military told them to leave northern areas of the Strip for their safety. Parts of the south are becoming even more crowded and overstretched, Gazans say, as waves of Palestinians abandon their homes. The World Health Organization said Israel's call for mass evacuations amounts to a death sentence for the sick and injured at crowded hospitals in northern Gaza. Israel has pounded the territory with airstrikes since Hamas launched its terror attacks last week and has also ordered a complete siege, cutting off access to electricity, fuel, food, medicine, and water. More airplanes carrying aid from Jordan, Turkey, the United Arab Emirates, the World Health Organization, and the Red Cross arrived at Egypt's El Arish airport Saturday, but Jordanian and Egyptian officials have said they are still trying to secure safe passage for the supplies. Diplomatic efforts continue. U.S. President Joe Biden has spoken to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas to discuss security and efforts to prevent the conflict from widening. Secretary of State Antony Blinken has met with leaders in the surrounding region in an effort to address civilian protection, humanitarian aid, and the need to prevent further escalation in the region.